Hello, everybody. I am back. Sorry I was gone for so long. My voice was gone for a little bit, but it's finally returned. So I thought a fun way to come back would be to do a tier list of the DCEU movies, especially since my family and I just finished watching Black Adam with its digital release. And this is a little bit of a different video than what I normally post, but I thought it would be something fun to do. Everyone was asking for a review of Black Adam, so I thought that I could just kind of go over each film a little bit in this. Okay, so we're going to start off with Wonder Woman, the original. Honestly, I saw this in theaters when it came out. I would put this at high A tier. Personally, I think that the story was fantastic. It didn't really beat you over the head with any kind of messaging. The visuals were great, and it was just a really enjoyable film overall. Unlike, unfortunately, its sequel, which I will go into next, which it was just a huge disappointment. I'm just going to put it in D tier. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. Some of these films, I didn't even finish. Wonder Woman 84 was one of them. To me, it was one of the biggest letdowns that DC has put out in a number of years. It had a lot of hype built up around it. There was a lot of good marketing. It looked great when it was coming out, but honestly, at the end of the day, it just really underperformed, not only commercially, but critically as well. I know a lot of people just did not like it. Myself, personally, couldn't get through it. I shut it off about 3/4 of the way through. It was just painful to watch. The quality dipped incredibly hard, and the only thing that I can think of is Zack Snyder didn't have anything to do with this film, and honestly, you can tell. Snyder had a big producing hand in the first film, and it really has his style. I should say, and in Wonder Woman 84, it was completely gone. It was a lot more campy, which normally is fine, but for what they were going with in this film, it just didn't work for me. I know it may have worked for some, but for me personally, it just didn't. Next, I'm going to go with the Justice League, since it's right here. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to put this one in B tier. Now, it did have a lot of comedy, and it was different from both the Batman v Superman and Man of Steel films, but that, for me, kind of worked, kind of with an asterisk. I would say that a lot of the humor with Batman didn't land for me. Personally, I like Batman to be a lot darker, a lot more violent, a lot like he was in Batman v Superman. When he's Bruce Wayne and he's around people who he's not trying to portray the Batman persona with, it works a lot better for me. Like, for instance, in Batman v Superman, when he was infiltrating Lex Luthor's house and he was acting a little more bumbly, especially when he was caught, when he was trying to steal all of the files, and the waitress was downstairs and asked him what he was doing in the restricted area. That worked a lot better for me. When he doesn't have anything to hide, his true personality should be Batman, and it should be a lot darker, a lot more serious, and that makes a lot more sense to me. That would be, I think that's better. You can tell a lot of the Joss Whedon editions, for instance, with The Flash landing on Wonder Woman and having that weird, really awkward gag of him grabbing her boobs. That was just uncalled for. I wasn't a huge fan of that one. Honestly, Aquaman sitting on the lasso of truth, great addition. I thought that was hilarious. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea because it is a big departure from what Zack Snyder had built up with his serious tone, especially with what we had later with the Snyder cut, I should say. That was incredible. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I mean, the PS2 style graphics for Steppenwolf were pretty crappy, but I don't know. To me, I would just say that it's a good, strong B. Okay, let's see here. Aquaman, easy D tier. Didn't even finish it. It just couldn't grab me, honestly. I liked Tim Morrison as Aquaman's dad. I thought that was great. Definitely seeing Jango Fett in there and Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett really brought it all together for me, and I loved it. But the rest of the movie just wasn't great. I couldn't get into it. It was the same thing with Wonder Woman 84 to me. It was one of those films where a lot of people like it. It made over $1 billion, but to me personally, it couldn't get me. And the worst thing that a film can be is boring, which to me, unfortunately, that's just what this was. And you may not agree, and that's absolutely fine. But this is my tier list, and this is where I see it. Okay, next I'm going to go with 20. Was it 2016? Oh my god, yeah. 2016's Suicide Squad. And this one is going to go in C. Honestly, David Ayer had some big shoes to fill when he was coming in. He had to follow up with Batman v Superman, which had just come out a couple months prior. I thought it was okay. Jared Leto's Joker, obviously worst part of the film. Don't even try to defend it. It was terrible. There's no redemption there. Will Smith was okay as Deadshot. Margot Robbie, great as Harley Quinn. As you can see, she's in more films coming up that we're going to put on the tier list. Yeah, I would say that's an okay C. El Diablo was pretty good. Killer Croc, wasted. I'd say Deadshot, like I said before, pretty okay. Captain Boomerang, pretty solid comic relief. Katana, wasted. Enchantress as a villain, that was just a weird choice. Obviously, they had their whole giant army of gray creatures with no real human characteristics that they could beat up on for a while to get some action. That was fine. I mean, that's in every movie. I couldn't tell you about these two, but it was definitely in Suicide Squad, definitely in Justice League, and, I mean, not really in Wonder Woman. That one, they had more of the World War I era soldiers that she was able to fight, and that was fine. But overall, I'd say C tier. It really wasn't anything to write home about. Okay, let's see. Let's go with Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey, I would probably I'll probably put that one at C tier as well, honestly. Birds of Prey, to me, it was fine. It was one of the first, if not the first, R-rated DC movie. That one was pretty good. The action in it was okay. Black Mask was not great. When they cast Ewan McGregor, I thought that was going to be a pretty good casting as Black Mask, but it just really fell flat. Especially the weird... I guess what they were doing between him and Victor Zsasz was... I really couldn't even describe it. It was just kind of strange to see. And they kind of just turned him into a giant man baby, which is really disappointing, because if you look at games like Arkham Origins, you'd have Black Mask in there, who was a really big presence. He was a mob boss, and they just kind of made him a whiny man baby who was a trust fund billionaire, and that didn't really sit right with me. And they killed him off in a really weird way. I mean, they could have brought him back for future films. They could have had him just a small presence around in the DCEU, but they just decided to scrap him. Oh well. Okay, next I'm going to put Shazam, and I'm going to put Shazam in B tier. So to me, Shazam was a good one. You knew what you were getting with this film. You knew it was going to be campy. To me personally, I was okay with that, because I knew that Shazam in the comics wasn't going to be a character like Batman, who's supposed to be really dark and brooding all the time. You know, Shazam at his heart is just going to be a little kid, and they're going to act like a little kid, and Zachary Levi really pulled that off. Mark Strong, good villain. I hope eventually we can see Black Adam fight Shazam, or at least bring in some different villains to have some variation. I know a lot of the time with Marvel and DC films, you kind of run into the same problem, where it's the villain of the film is just a carbon copy of the hero with just a different skin on it. That can be boring really, really fast. But yeah, with the comedy, it was pretty good. I like how they had the Marvel family all together at the very end. That was fine. Yeah, I'd say that's a strong B. And going off of having the villain of the film not be just a carbon copy of this protagonist, I'm going to go with the next film, The Suicide Squad. That one I'm going to put in S tier, honestly. The Suicide Squad is one of the films in the past couple of years that I've just been able to sit down and rewatch time after time. It's great. My entire family loved it. Margot Robbie back as Harley Quinn. John Cena as Peacekeeper was okay. I wasn't the biggest fan. I thought it was funny. Sylvester Stallone as King Shark stole the show, hands down. Idris Elba, great in the film as always. bringing back Rick Flag, that was cool. I hated that they killed him off, though. Honestly, I would have loved him to stick around a little bit, have at least somebody besides Harley Quinn stick around from Task Force X from the first film. But I mean, we got what we got. The Detachable Kid, greatest character added in the DCEU. Don't at me. I'm really happy that they brought in Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion's great in everything he's in, honestly. I wish that we would have been able to see him as Booster Gold like we were supposed to have. The original rumors back in the day where it was going to be Booster Gold and Blue Beetle in a team-up film with Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion in the roles. Hopefully we'll be able to see that someday, but only time will tell. Okay, moving on. This is where it's going to get a little tricky. For me, I'm going to be talking about the director's cut of Batman v Superman, just because the theatrical version was a bit of a letdown, and I'm going to put this in A tier. To me, Batman v Superman was the greatest rendition of Batman that we've seen on film. Michael Keaton, great. But something really just hits different about the comic accuracy of Ben Affleck's suit and just the brutality of that film. You see the brutality of Batman in that film, especially when Martha got kidnapped, and oh my god, it is just beautiful, especially when he grapples that box and smashes it over somebody else's head. That was incredible. Yeah, easy A tier for me. Besides the scene, obviously, that moved it down from S to A to me. That was inexcusable. Jesse Eisenberg, also in that film, god awful, inexcusable. But everything else besides that, great. Okay, moving on. I am going to Man of Steel. Man of Steel, I'm going to put also at A tier. That movie was pretty good. Zod was a good villain. I do enjoy the ending of that film, where you can see the struggle after Kal-El kills Zod, just because you can see the pain, especially with that scream, because that was the last person to his knowledge of his people, the last connection that he would have had to who he truly is. And you could just see in that moment where he has to make that decision of severing that part of him, and just the pain on his face is incredible. I thought Kevin Costner was okay as Pa Kent. That was fine. The way that he tried to make Superman hide who he really was, I didn't really believe. I thought that was kind of dumb, but to each their own. I know a lot of people would put this at the top of their list. I'd say it was at upper mid top. I'm going to put Man of Steel probably. I'm going to put Batman v Superman here. I think that's better. Let me just reorganize this. There we go. Yeah, I would say that's a good spot for Man of Steel, honestly. Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is going to be controversial. I'm going to put it in C tier. I know a lot of people like this more than the Justice League. I know a lot of people are going to have issue that I put it so low in the list, but honestly, to me, I don't know where else to put it. Visually, great, just like anything else Zack Snyder has worked on. But personally, it's going to be tough because it's so long. We had to watch it over 3 days, and I know the aspect ratio was a big thing for people. A lot of people enjoyed having the aspect ratio in the 3x4. For me, I wasn't a huge fan. I know that's what Zack Snyder wanted, but yeah, I don't know. It's really tough. I'm debating it right now on where I should put it, but I don't know. There just was something off about it. Darkseid's introduction in it, great. I loved how they had all the additions with Apocalypse. That was incredible. Just seeing everything with Darkseid and the anti-life equation was amazing. The addition that they added with the future scenes at the end, that was also great. I loved that. I love seeing Deathstroke come back. Deathstroke is one of my favorite villains, so I'm really happy that he was there. And Joe Manganiello got to come back. You know what? Honestly, probably I'm going to put it above. I'm going to shift this around just a little. Yeah, I think that's fine. And finally, we have Black Adam, the newest edition. Where to begin? Black Adam was probably one of the biggest letdowns that DC has had for me in the longest time. DC, we all had to go through 2 years of not being able to go to movie theaters, and Black Adam. So Black Adam would have been fine if it came out in 2007 when The Rock was originally cast in the role. The CGI, I mean, a lot of things nowadays have had subpar CGI, but to me, it was inexcusable. They've had years to work on this film, and it just wasn't great. The CGI looked wonky. The story was a mess. A lot of characters didn't need to be in there. The Justice Society, why were they hired by Amanda Waller when she works with Task Force X? The Rock doesn't act. He's the same the entire way through. It's just a smolder and talking like this. And my family was killed when I was a slave, and I will never let that happen again. Okay, whatever. That's the entire film. In a nutshell. Doesn't matter. Sabak, couldn't care less. Dr. Fate, he was great. Hawkman, okay. Cyclone, waste of a character. Didn't need it. Cyclone, to me, it was just weird. I didn't like how she was tumbling through the air. That was just kind of ridiculous, especially because every time she would do that, it would just cut to a weird slow motion shot. That was gratuitous. We didn't need it. Atom Smasher was just kind of a rip-off Deadpool that can grow. Wasn't a fan. It was just paced weird. I just didn't like it. You know what? I'm gonna have to add a row. And that row is Black Adam. Yeah. Black Adam, to me, is by far the worst DCEU film. But yeah, this is my list of the DCEU films so far. Yes, I haven't seen some of them. Well, I've seen all of them at least halfway. These two in D tier, I could not finish. It was physically hurting me. But yeah, let me know what you think. Feel free to disagree in the comments, and let me know where you list these films, especially Black Adam, since it's the newest one. I want to know what people think. But yeah, if you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I might do another tier list moving forward with possibly different actors who've played Batman, and my reasonings, MCU phases. If you like this, is this just something new? I know it's a lot different from what I normally put up, but let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for stopping by.